Hey everyone, are you stressed out about making dinner after a long day? These jar meals have you covered. Welcome back to our channel, Denise Talks. Today we're diving into the world of shelf-stable meals in a jar. Whether you're prepping for emergencies, looking for convenient meal options, trying to make meals more healthy, or you just want to try something new, this video is for you. So let's get started. First, let's talk about why converting your regular recipes into shelf-stable meals is a game changer. These meals are not only convenient, but also have a long shelf life, making them perfect for busy days or unexpected situations. If you're like me, by the end of the day, I'm usually so exhausted that making dinner feels like climbing a mountain. And I don't want to clean up anything. I don't want to measure anything. These meals in a jar solves those problems. All I have to do is dump the jar into a pan, add water, and boil it for about 15 to 20 minutes. Done. No measuring, no big mess, just fast, easy, and delicious. Now let's be honest, some meals in a jar recipes are really good, and some are just okay, and others, And one day at the end of a really long week, I was wishing I had my favorite comfort meal, but I didn't have the energy to make it. I was so exhausted. And I pulled out a meal in a jar I had already made up and wished it were my favorite comfort food meal. It suddenly dawned on me that I didn't need to rely on recipes that other people liked, but that I thought were just okay. I could convert my favorite recipes into their own shelf-stable meals in a jar. So I practiced it and tested it, and I've never looked back. This was an absolute breakthrough for me. I could whip up meals based on these jars for my family, fast and easy. What about the ingredients? Freeze-dried or dehydrated? I usually use freeze-dried ingredients in these recipes because I have a freeze dryer and mostly use foods that I've grown myself and freeze-dried myself. But I also use dehydrated ingredients too. So let's break down the difference between freeze-dried and dehydrated ingredients. Freeze-drying works by freezing the food and then removing that moisture through a process that's called sublimation, where a solid changes directly into a gas without becoming a liquid first. In freeze-drying, that frozen food is put into a vacuum chamber. It lowers the pressure inside the chamber, and then a very small amount of heat is applied, and it causes the ice to turn directly into a water vapor, sublimation, without melting it, where then they just vacuum out that moisture. And this method preserves up to 97% of the food's nutrients, making it almost as nutritious as fresh food. Plus, freeze-dried foods retain their original flavor and most of their texture, which is a huge bonus. On the other hand, dehydrated foods are made by removing moisture through heat. While they also retain many of their nutrients, the process can sometimes affect the food's texture and flavor. Heat, light, and air drying, while energy efficient, can lead to significant nutrient loss, especially for vitamins sensitive to heat and light. The slow drying, heated process exposes these vegetables to air and light for extended periods, which can degrade vitamins like A and C. However, dehydrated foods are generally more affordable and easier to make at home. So speaking of affordability, let's compare the cost of freeze-dried foods, which can be quite pricey, with dehydrated. They often cost around $3 an ounce for these dehydrated foods. For the freeze-dried foods, and 60 cents an ounce for the dehydrated. If you're on a budget, dehydrated ingredients might be the way to go for you. Of course, if you can afford it, you might look into getting your own freeze dryer. Sometimes it's the texture. If you can't stand the texture of the dehydrated ones, freeze-dried. So now let's get to the fun part, converting our recipes. Start by choosing your favorite recipe. For example, a hearty soup, a pasta, a casserole even. And then exchange the fresh ingredients with freeze-dried or dehydrated counterparts to them. For instance, if your recipe calls for tomatoes, you can use tomato powder or freeze-dried tomatoes as substitutes. These options will give you that rich tomato flavor you're looking for. Then layer your ingredients in the jar, starting with the heavier, bigger, dry ones like pasta or rice or meat, followed by the lighter freeze-dried or dehydrated vegetables, and finally any seasonings or spices. And this way the smaller ingredients will often fall through the spaces and you can fit more in the jar. You can also use a bigger jar. You can also layer them by color or by texture if you want the jar to stay pretty so you can give it away as a gift. I think that they look great. You want your meals to last for decades? Discover the secret weapon that keeps moisture out and freshness in. Sealing it right. Seal the jar tightly to keep out moisture and store it in a cool, dark place. You should consider sealing the jar with an electric mason jar vacuum sealer. You can get those on Amazon for about $20 right now. And if you're going to save it for a long time, you should consider using oxygen absorbers and desiccants, which help remove the moisture. And when you're ready to make your meal, just add hot water. Boil it for about 20 minutes or so, depending on the ingredients. And if it isn't quite tender, boil it some more. And then enjoy your fast, easy, hassle-free, shelf-stable, healthier meals. And there you have it. Converting your regular recipes into shelf-stable meals in a jar is easy, healthy, and super convenient. I love them. Now stay tuned for my next video where I'm going to convert a family favorite recipe into a meal in a jar. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and smash that bell icon for more tips and recipes. Thank you for watching and happy cooking. I talk, you talk, Denise talks.